Hello. There is no 1, 2, 3 on my laptop camera. It's just go. Hello and welcome to the Up. I have said that now a few times and tried to record this episode. And you know what? I just do as I'm told. God leads the way, and we're re recording it. It's my birthday, April 30th. And there's a snazzy intro that I have, and it is being changed because it's a jingle and I hate jingles, and it is going to be real music. Um, I am on a mission to dance again this year, and if you know me, you know I was a dancer from way back. Also, tell me out there in YouTube land, those of you that are listening on Spotify or just listening on YouTube and not watching me, this may not be relevant, but who has the solution for my glasses to not look this way on this camera? Because oh my goodness, all I want to do is wear these glasses because they help my eyes a lot, and it looks terrible. So I'm going to take them off for this episode. If anybody has a solution for this is something that I've needed for quite a while. If you guys wear blue blockers, if you have astigmatism, you probably know what I'm talking about, or just huge eyes in general, all the eye problems. But my name is Kristin Louise, and I want to say welcome to the first episode of The Up. It is my birthday. I'm turning 37 today. I'm recording this literally at 5:50 a.m., and I'm re-recording it, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. But I want to tell you what The Up is. I'm reading it off of this, if you guys can't tell. This is the podcast that defies labels, detours trends, and debates with love and laughter. This is it. This is what's up, and this is the podcast that you've been waiting for. So that's a pretty big claim, and we're going to find out what it ends up being, okay? I've completely scrapped this project and changed it a couple of times in the last year. And we don't need to get into all the details of that because I don't think everything is super pertinent. What I do think is that I'm listening to God on the way and what He is telling me to do and how He is telling me to be the best version of myself. So that sometimes means redoing things. That sometimes means we don't get to do the things that we plan the way we plan them or at all. And that's just part of obeying and having a relationship. Now, this podcast is not going to be all about spirituality, religion, whatever you want to call God. But it is going to be a big part of it. So I'm just going to say it first. If that's a turnoff for you, I would love it if you just listen to one episode and give it a shot. But if that's not a thing for you, we are going to talk about that probably in every episode. And it's not the main theme of this. The reason why I actually created this podcast, so welcome. If I didn't welcome you already, we're 2 minutes in. Welcome. Thanks for having an interest in my life. I might have known you guys from like a variety of ways, to be honest with you. It could have been like you live in my hometown and now I live there again. It could have been, I've met you at a church that I've been part of throughout the years. It could have been we've danced together. You knew me online as a couponer. I mean, there's just like so many different ways. I literally have a coupon right here. I was just looking through like a real coupon in my life, just looking through it because today I'm going to get out and do some deal hunting. One of my favorite things. Excuse me. Allergy season's real in Missouri right now. I live in Missouri, and if you guys don't know where that is, take a map of the United States. It's like almost right in the middle. But allergy season is like insane, and I've been suffering for over a week, doing a lot better now, but still like needing a ton of rest and kind of recovering. And as you can see, we're just in my basement. This is where I do all of my work. And originally last year, I had like this like headline sponsor for the podcast, and this was like I had to like go to another city to record episodes, and I was flying people in, and we had like pilot episodes done. And I think two things happened with that. One, it just became too much of a show. Like it, and I think I was trying to make it a show. Like I think that's what I thought I was supposed to do with it. And it worked. Like it became a show, but it became too much to manage, and it just became not real. And that'll happen, it happens to me in life all the time. I take one direction and I think this is what I'm meant to do, or this is something that I enjoy. And what I've learned now in my 37 today years is sometimes things that we enjoy aren't always meant for us, and sometimes things have a season in life and they're not forever. And that's powerful, to know that. And what gives me that kind of discernment, sorry if I'm wiping my nose a lot, what gives me that kind of discernment, honestly, is just my relationship with God. And you might be like, oh, I see what she's trying to do here. This is going to be all about God. It's not, but it is a huge part of who I am. So if that's not something that you're here for, again, this may not be the podcast for you, but give me a shot. I have been on so many other podcasts. I've tried a dual podcast in the last few years regarding Amazon. I am a seller on Amazon. Um, I was a panelist for years and years on a few marketing podcasts. I had my own for a while. And the thing is, I'm a marketer. That is my trade. That is what I've been doing. I've done a lot of things. I've done like a short stint on TV. I've been online in various forms, which you might already know me from. But I have done digital marketing since I graduated college. That has been, whether it's blogging, whether it's advertisements, whether it's, video production, whatever that entailed in that job, travel, sales, business development, digital marketing, lead generation, whatever. I can say all the buzzwords for you. It looked a little different in every season and every job, but I took the leap in 2018 to go out on my own and to do digital marketing things by myself. And then I ended up coming online and found community. And it's a long story. I'm actually writing several books. That's kind of a weird thing. I'm actually writing a few books, but content creation is definitely something, that's definitely a skill set of mine. I remember the first thing that I got published, I was in high school, and it was a poem, and it was under my own name. And it was really powerful until I got some negative feedback. And I'm going somewhere with this. This isn't a tangent. It was really powerful. My teacher believed in me. I was in a writing for publication class. So I mailed off this poem that I wrote. And it meant so much that that teacher really believed in me. And he was very proud of me. My family, whatever, anybody that I told, I'm sure was very proud. And I was proud of myself. But then you get that one piece of negative feedback, and that's where I'm going with this. I have been there. You get that one person that read it, and whether they were just having a bad day or they really didn't like it or whatever they were doing, whatever that feedback was about, okay? Whew, it hurts. I remember being so proud and excited that I got published in a magazine and, all the things. And then I just remember that feeling of defeat. So you take that small feeling that little Kristin, what was I, 16 or 17, that little Kristin had, and then you times it by 1,000. And that is what I've experienced online in the past, guys. You're never going to be everything for everybody. And I have spoken with a friend, and one thing that he's told me is like so many years in his specific job. He likes to say, like, I've got this many years in his job, and he does. And he says, so I've developed some thick skin, and he does. I do think time helps with that, but I also think a lot of that is just within us as well. And I am just created as a sensitive soul. Maybe some of you that know me in real life and you're still listening at 8 minutes into this, you're like, wow, I didn't think she was sensitive at all. She's actually kind of a tiger because, oh, have you ever done that game with your friends where like, what animal would you pick for me? And like, I've done that and like, I've gotten tiger. And, I like to think of myself more as a lion, but honestly, sometimes what we put out into the world, whether it's online or whether it's in person, it's not always the true us. In fact, for me, a lot of times it's not, because I cry all the time, guys. This is like a confession. I cry all the time. I do. It's not bad. Sometimes it's actually really great. I cry more than the average person, and that's because I'm what's classified as like a highly sensitive human, HSH. You could look that up if you wanted more information. I've actually done some blogging on it, but um, I just feel things really deeply. So one of my kind of coping mechanisms or defense mechanisms throughout my life, and this isn't therapy hour, guys. I'm just telling you who I am. I'm taking you on a journey here today. But who I actually am is super sensitive. And that's just how I was created. I believe I was created by God. And sometimes you just have to lean into those things because there's nothing you can do to really change them. So throughout my life, I have developed some coping mechanisms of being very strong on the exterior and pretending like I don't care, not looking at certain people even because of whatever reason. Maybe there's something that offends me about them, or maybe I'm afraid to even get to know them. Who knows what it is, but it's because I'm sensitive and it's because I protect myself. And the reasons don't matter as much as understanding more about each other. And that was a huge driving force. I'm looking back at some notes if you guys are wondering. Um, that was a huge driving force to create this podcast. It's not because I just think I'm meant to be a podcaster. I did start a podcast in college, and ironically, I got into a bunch of trouble for it. Podcasts were just becoming popular. It was like 2008 or 2007 at the time. I was a senior, so it was probably 2008. And I created a podcast, and I used a name that the newspaper on campus used to use, but there was no newspaper at the time. Like, it was a dead thing. And so I kind of just put a spin on an old name thinking that would be fine, and I got in so much trouble. Like, this professor just like, I didn't even know her, but she was the one that used to be in charge of the newspaper, and I guess she was offended. And so I kind of did some of my own research because I didn't use the exact name, and I was like, I don't think this name is like trademarked or something. Like, I don't think it's like I can't use this name. And the research was true. I could use that name. That name was up for grabs. It's just she didn't like that I didn't ask. And so I was confused, and I went to my advisor and I said, listen, what's the deal here? Am I not allowed to use this? And she's like, Kristin, you're so logical sometimes. And she's like, but you're also super emotional, and I don't get it. She's like, I don't get it. And she knows exactly who she is if she's listening. I love you, girl. But she's like, you just need to say you're sorry in this instance. Like, you're not in trouble. Nobody's getting you in trouble. But like, that name was reserved for something, and you need to ask permission. That's all it is. And in a huge way, that made a big impact on like my future in business and my future in communications, because like, it's true. It's a social grace. That's it. There's no trademark on the name. And I ended up doing my podcast. It was part of my senior project, and it is what it is. But that has come back, that one experience has come back to me so many times in life and in business and marketing and communications, because honestly, when it comes just down to life, period, we should treat people with more respect than we are, than that is like actually tangible or required. Required is probably the best word. Um, sure, that professor might have taken it a little bit personally, and she's not even the one that made that name, by the way. I don't think she works there anymore. I'm not going to name drop, but I don't even think she's the one that made the name of the newspaper at William Woods University. But when it came down to it, it didn't matter if she was that one or if she wasn't. She was the one, she was the advisor for that project. And it was kind of recent, within the last year or two, that they were not a functioning newspaper. And I think maybe she saw it as an attack. And it wasn't meant as an attack at all. I just like little campy kind of things, and it felt like a call out to something. And I don't know, it just felt pertinent to my university. It wasn't an attack, but as I look at it now, and I think about what I've experienced online years and years later, um, P.S. Alumni weekend this year was my 20th reunion of being a freshman in college, guys. It's my birthday, so I'm a little nostalgic and I'm feeling a little old today. But 20 years ago, I was a freshman in college. Wow. That was a tough one. I didn't know that. I show up and I'm like looking through the literature and I'm like, 20 years. Ooh, okay. So you always think of 20 years from when you graduated. Well, the freshman year is the start of the journey. So here we are today at the start of a new journey together. I hope you're going to take this journey with me. It's not always just going to be me. I do have some amazing interviews lined up. However, this was supposed to originally just be audio because that's my jam, and it was supposed to be on Spotify only. I made some changes to that on the fly, and the reason why I did that is actually like my next point. My next point is sometimes we have to take into consideration the others more than the consideration of ourselves and what our own wants and needs are. And that's something I felt very led to by the Holy Spirit because I did my own research. I have a business team, and I do have a marketing business. I have an agency with just a few clients now, but I also do a couple of other things, some speaking. I'm now doing some training again for a content scheduling platform that I used to work for years ago. But all of that to say, sometimes you got to do your own research. And I was like, who are the people in my life that I really want to listen to this podcast? Like, I really think that they would be the right demographic. And what do they listen to? So I did some texting and I put some stuff on Facebook and I put something out on Instagram. Like, what kind of content do you want from me? And I took all of that information, that little puzzle. And what I found was there are a ton of people on Spotify. Like that was true. So great. But it wasn't going to encompass everybody. And if you know me at all, I am going to try to make things work for everybody if I possibly can. It's who I am. And I will do it to my own detriment. And that's something I'm learning to work through. If you could just hear the congestion, just know where I live. All the pollen is outside. I'm looking at the window. All the pollen is right there. It's just waiting. Sometimes I'll do that to my own detriment. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. But recently I recorded my full testimony of kind of who I am and my story. Yeah, it's not everything in my whole life. It's not 5 hours, right? But it's the unabridged version as far as I'm concerned. It's the longest I ever plan to record, like soon. And it's available on YouTube, and I will put a link to it. Um, I learned a lot by putting that together. It took me like probably a month to really figure out exactly what I wanted to share as part of my story. Not because I was manufacturing it, but because I had to take things out. Like there's a lot of things that make me me. And what was the most important to the audience that I was presenting to that day, and what's the most important just in general. And what it boiled down to is the most important thing about me is Jesus. But as the foreword of my book will say, he writes the best stories. I just enjoy getting to tell them. It's a privilege to be a writer and to be a content creator. And I think people get that twisted. I mean, I'm going to be honest, as somebody who's been on TikTok, Instagram, and done the things and gone to the content creator events and met people and whatever. As somebody who's been through that and then taken a big break from it, it is coming back. First of all, I feel like a dinosaur. Okay. I just told you guys 20 years ago, I was a college freshman. Oof, I feel like a dinosaur because it's just all of these really young people for the most part that are doing this creating. And that's not bad. That's good. Like I'm glad that people are creators and I'm glad we have outlets online. But it has been a super negative thing in my life as far as the feedback that I've received online. And for somebody who's really sensitive, it took a long time to work through that. And then what I did was I took that pain and I turned it into power and I started helping other people succeed online. I realized like, yeah, I have this personality and people are following me and like they're benefiting from the things I'm saying and that's good. But then I used it to help others. And I did that until last year. I did that. I had clients that I specifically coached in like, how to appear on video, who they are, what's their personal statement, kind of like almost like business marketing therapy is what people would kind of call it. Because it was just a combination pack. And no, I'm not a therapist, but I know enough. I have enough information, but I had my own experience to draw from. And that's really the most powerful thing. When you can share your own story and it can help somebody else, why are we not all doing that? And I was sitting on a major story and some gifts. During COVID, I was just kind of sitting on them. A few things happened and we're not going to get into all of it today. It's going to come up at some point, but a few things happened that made me dormant online. And I was just sitting on some things that could really help people. And one thing that COVID brought to me was a lot of time. I know a lot of you felt that. I was already used to working online. I'd been doing it for 2 years by then. So that part wasn't really new, but I wasn't going to any coffee shops or anything. I was like walking around parks and I was being outside because that felt safe. And I was spending a lot of time indoors too. But the thing that happened to me during COVID was I learned the power of prayer. I knew how to pray because I'd been part of a prayer group. And I think all of it happened in God's time and God's hand was there because I had just learned and spent some time at this amazing prayer group. And I had just learned more about how to do that and how to harness it and what it looks like for multiple people. And then I had like a year to really work on it. And I would walk around this local park and I would just walk in circles and I would run when I could, but I've got an injury that would just always flare up. So I would walk in circles and I would just pray, not even about myself at all. I would just pray for the world. I would pray for others. I would listen to podcasts of other people and I would end up praying for things I heard about and I would write down stories. I have a Samsung phone. It's a big part of who I am. No Apple here. And I have a note, like the phone type is called a note. And I would take notes in my note. Pages and pages. If anybody ever got a hold of my phone and looked at the ecosystem that is my notepad, you would know a lot about my brain immediately. It would be scary because you would probably know a little too much and I would feel uncomfortable for a second, but then if you took that and used it for good, yeah, you'd be able to change my life because you would know the things that I'm worried about and you would know what I'm interested in and you would know how to deal with me. So I'm going somewhere with this, guys. This isn't a crazy story about COVID. What I learned from all that and looking at the ecosystem of my notes and my phone and sitting down and trying to put the pieces together because I wanted to write a book. That's what I wanted to do during COVID. I was taking a run at getting a book deal and it didn't pan out that time around. So I'll just tell you how that story ends right there. But I was taking a run at writing a book and it's something I wanted to do most of my life. And it didn't work out that time. But what I learned through getting all the pieces and putting them together was I learned who I was and I learned how I could share that and how powerful that could be for other people. Because if we all shared who we were more and didn't have all the layers that we have, and trust me, I've got more layers than most people, so I'm speaking to myself here. Um, I think we could do so much good. I think we could waste less time. And I think we could really love people better. Like, that's kind of my hypothesis after all of this. And we've been talking a lot about that topic at my church recently, like 18 weeks worth, actually. And it just happened to coincide with some research I was doing myself at the time. I'm very academic. I have degrees in various things. And I was working on some research, and essentially it was about it's called digital blessings, is what it's called in my research. And it doesn't even have to be religious, but it's like ways to show care for others online because my research is regarding the digital online space. But that can translate anywhere. That could be in person too. And there's a lot more research that's been done for in real life, IRL. So I was trying to kind of prove something that's been proven already in real life and take that, and the intersection of these two things have been really meaningful in my life. And that's really what made me turn back on my Facebook. What made me, because like I didn't deactivate it ever. I just was dormant. And for a while, you guys probably saw if you're on there, you couldn't post on my wall, you couldn't comment on my pictures. And I was meeting these people in real life, and I was making new friends after COVID. And what would happen is they would add me on Facebook. A couple of them added me on Instagram too, but mostly it was happening on Facebook. They would find me, they would see my picture, my picture, and there was no long post on there that was like, "Hey guys, I don't use this anymore," blah blah blah. I felt like that was just weird. I never did that. I just stopped using it one day. And then at that time I was like, I don't owe anybody an explanation. This is my life. Okay. That's not untrue. But what I submit for your consideration as part of my story and my life is sometimes people can understand more than we think they can if we give them the chance. And it may not be everybody, and there's going to be people that disappoint us, okay? Like, there's plenty of that out there. But what you'll find, and what I have found, and I'm going to try not to get emotional because I'm very sensitive, but what I have found over the course of like the last 2 years, let's say, is going on this journey, being myself, putting things out there in real life, making new friends. And that's hard. Like, we could have a whole podcast just about like how hard it is to make friends today, especially at my age. I felt like that was a whole thing that we could talk about, but that's not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about today is your friends want to know things about you. And if you're not giving them any information and they have nothing to see about you online other than your past, which I had gone and I had deleted so much. So they were seeing just bits and pieces. I mean, literal bits and pieces. So if that's all you're giving people, what do you expect? What was I expecting to happen, guys? Like, literally, what was I expecting to happen with the information that I was giving people? Of course, they weren't going to know me well. Of course, they couldn't really love me well because they were grasping for straws to try to figure out who I was. And I was in one way, I was, in real life, I was one way. I'm very extroverted, but I'm super deep and nobody knows a lot of that about me. So I had to make some changes and I started praying about it. And I realized through like being in a small group through church, we call them life groups, and um, being involved in a couple of activities in town where you kind of break into smaller groups and tables and have discussions and get to know people on more of a personal level. Through all of those experiences, I started to realize that I wasn't letting people really know me at all because I didn't really know me. I was just kind of going through the motions of life. So I made some big changes, and that's where we're starting. This is the beginning. This is my story, and I'm the host here, so you got to know about me a little bit to know where I'm going to bring this and how we're going to move forward. So last year, I went through a couple of really hard things, and we don't have time today. I'm going to be really cognizant of time on these podcasts because one of the pieces of feedback I got was like, please don't make it super long because everybody knows me. I'm known for like doing 2-hour live videos before and just talking to people back and forth and just loving it. But that's not what we're doing. And people are like, please don't make it very long. Like, please. So I'm going to be really time conscious as I do these because I want to respect people's time and I want people to hear the messages that I'm putting out there. And sometimes you have to do things that aren't exactly how you want to do them because it's for the benefit of others, right? So hear me when I say last year was a hard year for me. We're not going to unpack it all today, but there was a couple of things that I almost died in a hospital. I mean, that's definitely one thing that happened. And those of you that know me, it was a really, like, if you really know me and you were getting the day-to-day updates, like, it was bleak. I didn't know when I was going to leave that hospital and what was going on with my life and my health. That changes you. I hope I'm not midlife because I am only 37 today, but if I am, I knew when I left that hospital, praise God. Praise God that I left that hospital. But I knew that my life couldn't be the same. Because I intuitively knew that I'm getting emotional. It's okay. I knew that I wasn't fulfilling the purpose that God had for me. I just knew that. I didn't know exactly what it was at that time, but I knew that wasn't happening. But also, I knew that all these people that were showing up in a big way to care for me, they actually didn't know me. They knew me a little bit, but they didn't know me fully. And I wanted to make that right. And I wanted to invest in knowing them more too and make everything more real and genuine in my life. And it's scary, guys. Ripping off the Band-Aid and sharing the good and the bad with people. Oh, it can go both ways, can't it? But I'm telling you, in my experience, it was 100% worth it. And there's still things that people don't know about me and I don't know about them. But one thing that I was able to share with a small group of people, and that group's getting bigger and bigger all the time, it's getting bigger today because I'm sharing it with you, is I've really struggled with mental illness. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of mine because what happens is people compare it. And they're like, oh yeah, they're going to Google it. And they're going to be like, I have that too. She has that. I have that. Don't do that. What I have is clinically diagnosed from a team of professionals that are around me. And I'm thankful for that all the time. Because if I didn't have that, I don't know. I don't know where we'd be here. We certainly wouldn't be doing this as we are. So I made a decision at the end of last year that I didn't want to be on medication anymore. and I wanted to just kind of see who I was because I was having some mood issues and I was not feeling great about the medicine I was on. It was holding weight on me, and I just wanted to try for the first time in, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I wanted to try to be off of that medication. So I went to my doctors and I said that, and they said, okay, there's a lot of people that after COVID, they think they want to be off of these and it doesn't go well. Are you ready? And I prayed about it and I decided that I was ready. And you know what? It's been good and bad. There's been hard days, there's been great days, but it's been way more good than bad. And eventually, over the course of the next few months, as things tapered off and what have you, I realized I really liked who I was. I was excited to meet myself again. But then the weight starts dropping and I feel lighter and I feel more naturally happy and I have more energy. And sometimes the things that we're putting into our bodies, whether it's medicine or we're medicating with something else, or it's food, because maybe we're addicted to food. I've been through all of this stuff, guys. Sometimes it's not serving us. And we really have to take the step back and take control of our life. And I hope that you've got like people around you that would support you in that. And I did. I only told a very few people at first because I didn't know how it was all going to go. But now the circle is getting bigger. You guys are in it. Welcome to the circle of trust. But what I want to tell you is you have to do the work to meet yourself, but it's 100% worth it. You don't have to put a podcast together about it. I'm not telling you that. That's something that I felt very called to do specifically early this year. And that's a podcast for another day. That's a full story right there. It was a really special day when I figured that out. But my full testimony of who I am, much longer than this, is available, and I will link it wherever you're listening. You'll be able to see it. And don't feel like you have to watch that. I had some people that made fun of me because of the length of it. And they're like, yeah, I'll just never have time to listen to that. Like, guys, nobody records their personal testimony for themselves. I did it so the right people would listen to it and be blessed by it, hopefully. It wasn't about like, this is a show and tell. Watch this about me. Do this for me. It wasn't about that at all. So if you don't feel called to listen, that's okay. It's just available to you. So I'm just sharing that. So that's who I am. My name is Kristin. I live in Missouri. I am many things. First of all, I'm a child of God, but more so than that, I'm a marketer. I'm a money saver. I'm a mom. Some of you don't know that I had a child in 2021. She was a late COVID edition. She's fantastic. And I love being a mom, but it's not the core focus of anything that I'm going to be doing online. And it's not because I don't love being a mom at all. It's just one part of who I am. So you're going to see some content related to my journey, especially as the podcasts go on and we share more. But I do see people lose themselves in parenthood, mothers and fathers. It could be either or. And while it would have been easy to do during COVID, of course I was there for my daughter, but that's not, her existence does not define who I am as a person. She's a wonderful part of my life, but she's not it. So I don't want this to just be for moms, and I will talk about being a parent sometimes, but it's not going to be mom specific. It's not going to be marketing specific. It's not going to be specific about religion, although we'll have some conversations about that. I want to explore a lot of topics, and I want to explore them really thoughtfully and kindly, but I want people on here as guests, and I have a couple lined up already, but if you want to be a guest, shout out. Look me up on Instagram, DM me. Don't DM me on Facebook. Just email me if you have to. Please don't DM me on Facebook. But these conversations are not just me. It's, some people would call them a debate, but these are people with differing viewpoints. And I think it's important to put healthy models of that out there because we see so little of it. So many things are created for clickbait. And I'm a content creator. I'm a marketer. I know what I'm saying. I've done it before. I don't think it was in a really bad way, but I've done it before, things for clicks. I've staged a little bit of things here and there just for the hype. Again, I don't think it was to a crazy degree, but I've done it. Okay. I know it exists. Look on YouTube, look on your For You page on TikTok. It exists. Okay. So this time around, this is kind of like my third go at being online. Weird, I know. But this time around, I'm leading with my heart, and my heart is definitely led by Jesus. But I'm also here to give the details that I felt nobody cared about maybe, but are super important. And one of the things that I'm just looking at my list, making sure I'm getting everything. One of the things that I know that I can share, and then we're going to wrap it up today, is all the things, all the arts I'm interested in, and all the marketing and, all the business stuff. Everything that I'm interested in is really great. And we're going to talk about all of it. And we're going to talk about things that you guys want to hear about too, because I want to know what's some things that don't exist out there. What's some content that you want to consume? I want to know. Let me know. You could put comments on wherever you're listening to this at, or you could just tag me at Stay at Home Marketer on Instagram or Facebook. That's the only platforms I'm going to be on at the moment. But one thing that I do know about that I can share with you guys today is internet security. And I had to learn in a hurry because I had some kind of scary things happen to me personally as a creator. But I will say I try not to use the word influencer. I don't know if you've noticed that. I just don't like that word. And I don't care what you want to call it, what it is I do. It doesn't really matter to me. But I'm just going to call it being a creator. I like that word. I'm not the creator. Okay, let's be clear on that. I know that I'm not the ultimate creator. Okay. Don't get that twisted. Please, please. Okay. So I do have some certifications in digital marketing and Facebook specifically. And I just want to take a second just to remind you guys 3 really simple things. And I'm going to put these in the comments too, or in the description too, so you'll have access to seeing them. The first thing is whatever you put on any social media platform, I don't care which one it is, you name them all, whatever you put there, I'm really struggling. Whatever you put out there is no longer yours, okay? It then belongs to that platform. That's really important to know. Pictures, guys, pictures are included in that. Pictures of yourself, pictures that you take, like I take a lot of pictures of nature. I love to take pictures of the moon. Those pictures don't belong to you solely anymore. Once you upload them somewhere, they are they're indexed by that system. And what that means is, I'm not going to say they're going to use it to make money, but those images will be available for years to come. Okay. Even if you're like, no, I deleted that off of my Facebook or whatever. Those have already been categorized and a robot has gone through them and they exist somewhere. It may not be openly available online anymore because you deleted it, but they exist. It's really important to know that. So when you're thinking about things that you put out there, you guys have heard the spiel, like if you have kids, don't put the name of their school out there. You've heard that. Don't put pictures with your address, like your number, your street number. Yes, I think all those things are important, but let's take it a step further. Do you want to put pictures of your vehicle online? Because if somebody had a beef with you for whatever reason, I don't know, then they didn't know where you lived. Let's say they couldn't find out where you lived, but they knew where you worked because you've talked about your work online. And then they knew what you drove because they found an old picture somewhere online. These are the things that have kept me up at night, guys. I dealt with some really bad security issues. The second thing that I want to talk about is where you live. If you have a mortgage of any type, you have a title or a deed to your home that is being held by a bank, and those records, not the amount or anything like that, but who is on that title or deed for your house, is available in public record, guys. There are ways to change that. I can't go into all of those today. I could provide more information on that, but there are ways, if you look it up, to change that, even if you still have money owed on your home. However, it is out there, and people like me were living our lives online, and I didn't know that that information was public record. And that seems silly. because I know how things work, and I'm a logical, pretty smart individual, but those things are available to people, and it is literally kind of just a few clicks for them to find it. And it costs no money for somebody to figure out where I lived. Think about that, okay? And you're like, Kristin, I don't have any beef with anybody. I'm not afraid. Don't come at me with your scarcity, whatever, whatever. It's not really scarcity. But anyway, don't come at me with your negativity. And, another one that people tell me, because I hang out with a lot of people that are religious, and that's great. But they're like, God is in control. God is in control, okay? Amen. Amen. Yes and amen. However, because God is in control doesn't mean that you shouldn't just take care of yourself. Because God's in control, can I eat Cheetos all day, every day? I was just looking at the orange of my shirt and I came up with Cheetos. But because God's in control, can I just eat whatever I want and, hurt people all the time? And, we have rules in this country and all around the world, there's rules and laws. But also, just because God's in control doesn't mean we don't have to do things well in what he says. And I'm not saying that there's a commandment in the Bible that says, protect yourself online. No, that's not what I'm saying. But because God is in control, don't let that be an argument to not worry about something that you could easily, protect yourself from. If you don't feel called to do that, that's fine. I'm just throwing it out there because it's a big part of my story. Okay. Um, the last thing is a little bit more difficult, and then we're going to wrap this up, but it's important. It has come up multiple times in the last probably year and a half of my life. And when I sat down with a friend for a 3-hour lunch recently, and she shared with me what she did, I said, okay, this has got to be it. This has got to be part of it. I didn't know if it was going to be the first episode, but it's got to be part of the podcast. Hold on. So I want you guys to know that consent is really important when taking pictures. And I've actually been talking with people at my church about this, with like VBS coming up and like youth stuff. Parental consent for minors is really important when taking pictures. However, we cannot control the people that take pictures of our children. We just can't. My daughter goes to school and they have a consent form and I've signed it, and there's pictures that are going to appear there because of that. However, it might be people that we know and that are closer to us that are taking pictures that we never know exist. And they could be taking those pictures and putting them in the dark web. And I know this is heavy, guys, but I want everybody to just take a second and to go to your own Facebook and to click on the privacy button. I think you click on the little wheel, the cog that says settings, and then you click on privacy. And one thing that you could do today to drastically change the risk of pictures getting in the wrong hands is your own pictures and pictures of your family and people that you just love. Maybe it's your kids, your friends' kids, put your profile on private. You might think that I'm a hypocrite for saying this because I have a profile where a lot of things are public, but you won't see any pictures of my child on there for that reason. That's very specific. The story that I was told, in short, was that there was a local leader who had access to many children at a summer camp. And I'm not going to get into specifics of what type. It doesn't matter. It could happen anywhere, okay? But when this gentleman retired and turned in his laptop and whatnot, there was years worth of pictures he had saved off of people's Facebooks and probably Instagram and whatever. People that he knew, but also pictures that he took. And these weren't necessarily explicit pictures. These weren't like something that could get him in trouble with the law. Although I think that's a gray area. But these pictures existed. They would be like, young women who hadn't developed, they would be like zoomed in on certain parts of their bodies if they were wearing like tight pants or shorts or swimming suits. But then past those pictures just existing, the ones that he took and the ones that he found online on friends of his own on their Facebook, Past that, there would be pictures that he also took, and then he uploaded them to the dark web. Guys, I'm not trying to end this on a downer at all. I'm actually being brave to say this because I love you all. I just want you to think about what you're putting online. I'm not here to say don't put pictures of your kids online at all. Live your life how you want it. I'm living a little bit more public life, so I'm choosing a different path. And I have things like I have links for friends and family. Um, we have family over across the world, even not just across the country. So they can't even access social media. So we've got links for them and whatever. But my my plea today regarding your online security and the security of your family and your kids. Yes, we could talk a whole episode about parental controls too. I would get somebody that knows more about it because my child is so young. We've just started with it. But we could do that. But what you could do today is look on your own profiles and lock things a little more down and go through your friend list. And when I came back online, I had to delete thousands of friends off of my profile because they were people that I had never encountered, had no mutual friends with, like, go through your friends list. Who doesn't need to be there? And I'm not talking about people that you just don't want to know anymore, but you do know them. I'm talking about who needs access to images of you and your family and who doesn't. I'll let you decide how you take that. I told you I'm living a little more public life, so it was different for me. But I'm saying all these things out of love. I care deeply. And because of the industry that I'm in, that story was heartbreaking to hear with my friend. And then she actually said something. I asked her the hard question. If your daughter was younger, like mine, would you make a decision knowing what you know now to not put her online? And she said, absolutely. Okay, there's not a right answer here. I'm not trying to change minds or change hearts. I'm giving you some information out of love. In my basement, we're getting ready for a garage sale, so there's like boxes everywhere and it's a mess. And I'm not wearing my blue blockers, so my eyes hurt. And, I'm just sitting here with my nice cup from one of my besties. Sent that for my birthday. So sweet. It's just me down here with my plain old vanilla candle. And I want you guys to know that this is a place where we can, really be kind to each other, but also disagree. I want you guys to know that I love you. I think we don't say that enough. One of the things that happened last year when I almost died in the hospital, I was thinking about what my funeral would be like. And I know that's super morbid, guys. And you're like, oh, wow, she's going to end on the funeral note. What a great podcast. I'm coming back for more. It's not always going to be like this, guys. But I am a really deep human. I don't do a lot of surface level anything. If you've ever received an audio message from me, you know that. So let's just end it here. Put a pin in it. Till next week. I love you guys. I think we don't say that enough. And when I thought about what my funeral would be like, and I thought about the people that were surrounding us in our life and like who would support my family if I were gone, not financially, I'm talking about like who would pick up the pieces if something had happened to me, I loved the people that were in my life, but was I loving them well? Was I actually showing it? No, some of them didn't even know me. I mean, they thought they knew me. They knew a version of me. But I kind of doubled down after that. And it took a while and it took some bravery. But I'm really glad with the result on the other side. I've seen a meme floating around and I've shared it multiple times on my page now, but it's like we should say things at birthdays that we say at funerals, and we should. I actually thought a lot about what I wanted my funeral to be when I was in the hospital, and that sounds morbid, but I was like, okay, I know who I would want to say this, and I know what I would want read. And then I shared that with the appropriate people after that because who knows? Life is short. Take this life, guys. Take this life and do something crazy. For me, I'm going to start dancing again online. Weird. I know I never thought that would be happening. I've got a personal trainer that I'm starting with so I can rehab my knee and feel stronger, do some physical therapy on that. And, I'm taking some big steps and I'm doing my best. And you're going to hear all about it here if you stick around. I'm also trying to use the platform. I hate it when people say use my platform, but I'm going to use my platform. I'm going to say it. Whoever's listening, however long I'm online, again, I hope it's for a long time, trying to do it the right way this time. I'm going to use this to talk about things that I think are important, like charities and like events and things that are important. So I'm just going to end this by saying, if you are, I do have a summer dance intensive that's coming up. I'm going to have a link in the description. We're going to have 2 free classes in May, like a trial. And then it's just going to be $10 a month for the 3 months of summer. And we're going to dance and have a ton of fun. So there's that. But if you're local, there is an awesome event that's coming up May 18th. My friends, the Stammers, are putting this together, but it is, I'm wearing the shirt right now. It's a global 6K, and it's for drinking water. The benefit of that is drinking water, and we're doing that here locally in Jeff City on May 18th. And I'm going to put a link to that information as well, because if I'm not using this platform to help promote all the things and do all the good, then I'm wasting it, and I don't need to spend time on this. So, yeah, it wasn't an hour. I wanted to try to get it in 40 minutes, but we made it to 50, and I'm happy with that. That's progress, my friends. I just want to say thanks for hanging out with me on my birthday if you're listening to this. And I want to say thanks to people like my friend who sent this, Stacy. Thanks for people that have showed up in big ways in my life. The DMs that you guys have sent me, just of encouragement, saying like, thank you for coming back. We needed this. The content ideas that you give me. There's just so many people that love me in big ways. And I want to say I love you guys. And you guys are worth the negatives. And there are negatives of being online, okay? But you guys are worth it. And I hope that you'll stick around for a lot more excitement. This is not an exciting episode at all, but I hope you'll stick around for the things to come and give me some content ideas. And we'll talk soon. Thank you guys so much.